Cool. So this is episode 4 of our podcast, and we have a really special guest this afternoon here. He's one of my biggest mentors as of lately, specifically 2016. He's been one of the most influential people in my life. He is a young multimillionaire, serial entrepreneur. He grew up in Phoenix. He grew up in the hood, and he got himself out of there. He graduated with his bachelor's from ASU within like 2 years at WP Carey, and all while running a multi-million-dollar marketing agency. So his name is Josh Elizetxe. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's good. Good job. You got it.
Okay, awesome, man. So tell us a little bit about your story, how it all started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'll give you, I always try to extract the Cliff Notes version, the most impactful pieces of my story. There's a lot in there, but mainly because I started as a teenager. I was 13, 14 years old, and at the time, I was just entering high school and growing up in West Phoenix. There were some gang activity going on in my area, and gangs moving in from California and all that stuff. And so on one side, I was heavily involved in sports. So I was in track and field. I do shot put and discus. And then I was always involved in football. And then in middle school, I played basketball as well. So I was always involved in sports. And so what was nice about that is that that kept me out of that activity and kind of that out of that risk of, if I hung out outside, there were gangs that were recruiting and all of that. And so on one side, that helped. And then on the other end, the days I didn't have practice or we were out of season for sports, I would spend a lot of my time at the Phoenix Public Library, mainly because we didn't really have a computer or internet at the time. And the public library had computers I could use. They had a bunch of books. And I kind of picked up on reading, and that's one of the biggest keys to success, so to speak, is pushing yourself to read and to read daily, and even when it's uncomfortable, especially in the beginning. It's just like working out. It's uncomfortable, but you get stronger. Your muscles get bigger. You feel better about yourself. Same thing with reading. Your brain gets stronger. You learn more. You also learn how to speak. You learn how to speak at a different level. And you also kind of dig inside the minds of other people. And I like to read, nowadays I read a lot of autobiographies. I read a lot of business books. I even read, some not so business or tech related books as well, just to understand, different mindsets and stories. And so my vocabulary has grown and evolved since I started really diving deep into this at 13, 14 years old. And one of the books I picked up at the library was called Web Design for Dummies. And the reason why I picked that book up actually was there was a competition at the Phoenix Public Library where, every book you read, you take a test or something like that, and then you get points for it, and you get tickets to Diamondback, all that stuff. So that program, which I hope they still do it today because that was a really, really great program, it pushed me even further to read because I'm really competitive. Like I mentioned, I'm in sports. I'm mostly competitive with myself. I'm not incredibly outwardly competitive in terms of, talking crap or like, that type of stuff. I'm more of an internal competitor. So I'm always trying to optimize. How can I get better? How can I do that? Even at 13, 14 years old, I was like, okay, I'm getting better at reading. I'm pretty good at it. I want to win tickets to Diamondbacks. What do I got to read? I found out that there were different point systems, and the books that were quote unquote boring gave you more points because they wanted you to read, different types of books. So, I go down this aisle, and I'm like, okay, I got to find some books that I'm at least interested in so I can get a bunch of points. And I found Web Design for Dummies, and I said, wow, that's interesting. So I pull out the book, and I was happy because the majority of the book was made up of pictures and diagrams. I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy to read. And so, I start reading it, and then, after reading the first book, I'm like, wow, that was interesting, and, it almost seems too easy to be true. And so then I pick up another book, and I read through that one. I'm getting points all along the way. And before I know it, I'm reading, a few books a week on web design. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try it out. Like I got this computer here at the library. I got an hour a day. I get to use it. I'm just going to try to put some of the stuff I'm reading into action and see if it's true because I kind of don't believe it. And so that's what I did is I signed up at the time. I don't know if it was called Blogger or Blogspot before Google acquired them or whatever. But, I set up a Blogspot, which is kind of the equivalent of WordPress now. Super easy to set up, simple little blog. And I started a blog about technology, particularly about the iPhone that was coming out in 2007. And I remember seeing Steve Jobs' keynote where he introduces the iPhone, and I was literally for 20-something minutes, however long it was, I did not leave the screen. Like, I was so glued and hooked, and I had never seen a presentation like that in my life. Since then, Apple and Steve Jobs have had a big influence on me, but that particularly got me interested in the iPhone. I said, I want to blog about the iPhone because I'm so obsessed with it. So, I was reading magazines about the iPhones, reading all the stuff about the iPhone anyway. I was like, might as well write about it. So I started writing about it on this blog. It cost me $0 to set up, and still to today, you can set up a WordPress website for free. You can even go to WordPress.com, which is the more basic user-friendly version, which is totally free. And you can have a blog within 5 minutes, ready to go. You can upload a picture of yourself. You can call it whatever you want. So, it's only gotten easier, and that's one thing I try to tell people is it was a lot harder back then. And for example, back then there weren't a lot of templates or easy things to use. You had to learn how to code everything, and so a lot of the books I read was learning how to program, not like really hardcore programming. I'm not by any means an advanced programmer, but just HTML, CSS, some of these languages that allow you to kind of manipulate how your website looks. But anyway, I created this iPhone blog, and I started blogging on it. I didn't use my real name because I was like 14 or 15 at the time, and I didn't want people to know who I was. So I came up with a pen name, and I would post 3 to 5, really as much as I could write in 1 hour, because that's all the public library gave me was 1 hour on the computer. I write as much as I could and as fast as I could. And what I didn't know at the time was that millions of people were going to Google and searching, iPhone release date. When does the iPhone come out? Will the iPhone have a camera? Blah, 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 blah. They were searching all these things on Google. And at the time, since I was publishing every single day 3 to 5 long posts about the iPhone, my results started to get pulled in to the Google search results. I didn't know this at all at the time.
Oh.
All I knew was, I would go to my site and I would notice that people were commenting on my articles that I would write. And I was like, I thought it was so amazing. I'm like, wow, this person thinks I'm cool. And then some people would be like, you're stupid, you have no idea. And then, it's just all these comments. I was like, that's awesome. I didn't know anything about what are called, analytics. I didn't know how many people were visiting my website. I didn't know anything. And so I just kept writing and writing. And one day I get an email from a company that says, hey, we like your blog. We like the way you write. We're coming out with an iPhone accessory for the new iPhone, and we want to advertise on your website. We want to advertise on your website. We want to pay you for it to be seen by your readers. And so I'm like, wow. At first, my first thought was like, this is fake. And then my second thought was like, well, maybe this is real. And so, Google, who's my best friend, I go to google.com. I search, what does banner advertising mean? What does it mean to advertise on a website? Just teaching myself, because I had no one around me, and I had no one in my community. I had no one to ask these questions to. And so, I had to look up everything on my own. And YouTube was still a baby at the time. Google had just bought it in 2006, and it was just a baby. But there were some videos on there that I would watch, and Google was my best friend. And so I finally learned about online advertising within a week of just reading a bunch of stuff that I could find, and books and everything. And so they're like, how much do you charge per month for us to put a little ad on your blog? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I have no idea, but I'm not going to tell them that, because then they're going to either take advantage of me or they're going to think I'm a kid or whatever. Which in reality, I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, I don't know even where to begin. So I figured, I don't know what made me say $400, but I just thought of $400, and I sent over to them. I was like, $400, and I can put your advertisement on my website, blah, blah, blah. And they responded, they said, okay, sounds good. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, that was too easy. And I was like, this is so weird. So I remember telling, some of my family and friends about it because I was so excited. And they were like, I don't know, it sounds like a scam. I don't know, like I wouldn't trust it. And so, what I did is I went onto Google and I typed in, how do you accept money online? And I found PayPal. And I was like, wow, PayPal's amazing. And I was like, I need a PayPal account. And so, not being 18, I had to convince my parents to create a PayPal account. And I sent over my information to these guys, and they sent the money a couple of days later. And I got the email saying, you received $400 from so-and-so. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I logged into PayPal, it's right there. Anyway, long story short, it isn't a scam, and it is a true company. And I learned how to place my first little ad on my little blog. And after that, I was hooked. And I said, if I can do this with one blog, I should be able to do this with lots of blogs. And so I started creating all sorts of blogs, the same like I did with the iPhone one. And at this point, I had made some money, and we were able to get a computer at the house and the internet. And so I went from just 1 hour a day on the computer to as many hours as I wanted. And the following year, I ended up quitting football. One, because I was in a car accident and I had to go through therapy, which was really tough on me. And second, because by the time I had come out of therapy and I started to feel better, I was so hooked on the internet and running a business online that I didn't want to spend my Saturdays and after school playing football. I wanted to build websites, and I didn't really tell anyone at the time what I was doing because I felt like a complete nerd sitting on the computer all day, which was crazy. But anyway, so I started creating all these blogs, and then I found the marketplace where you can sell your website on. So that was fascinating to me because it's just like building a home. You buy the land, which is the domain name, so josh.com, and then you build up the house, which is the actual website. Let's say you sell iPhone cases on it, and that's your little house on there. And depending on the location, you get more traffic. And so that same thing with online. Depending on how greedy you are at marketing a website, the more traffic you get, which means the more sales you get, which means the more it's worth. So anyway, I found this little marketplace. At the time, it was called SitePoint, and now they changed the name to Flippa, FLIPPA.com. This is one of the places that people buy and sell websites on. And so it's interesting to go there and look at, what are people selling, how much are they making, lots of stuff. And so I went on there, I was fascinated. And I said, well, let me see if I could sell some of my blogs. And so I put some of my blogs up, and I think it was 2 weeks later, I had money in the bank, and they bought, it was this Italian guy, I remember, like it was yesterday, this guy in Italy who wanted to buy my blogs because he had similar websites, and he was just swallowing my blogs and then forwarding all the traffic to his website. So anyway, he bought them up, and then I was able to buy my first car at the time. And so this is all around the same 15, 16-year-old time. So I was, sophomore, junior in high school, and right. I was in West Phoenix at Alhambra High School, and and here I am, going from varsity football and track and field, and little do people know on the weekend when people are like, hey, come to this kickback or come do this, I'm like, oh no, I gotta, I never really told anyone exactly what I did because I felt embarrassed, honestly. And I was like, no, man, I would love to, but I gotta help my mom out, this and that, or I just come with all kinds of excuses. So I was embarrassed to say, no, man, I got a blog on my websites and stuff, and so, but looking back on it, those are the best decisions I made. Was, one thing led to the next. So I sold those blogs, and then I started connecting with people on that website, and people were like, wow, you sold your website. Can you help me sell mine? And they still didn't know who I was because I was going by a pen name on all these places. And they're like, can you help me sell my website? And I'm like, okay, I can help you sell your website. And they're like, how much do you charge? I was like, I have no idea. So I go online and Google, and I'm like, how much do website brokers charge? And just like a real estate agent, I was an internet website agent. And so I represented the seller, and sometimes I represented the buyer. And here I am at 15, 17 years old by now, and I'm helping people sell their $1 million websites. And, I didn't make much money at it because I charged such a small fee, which at the time, was a lot of money to me. But, it was the reason why they came to me, a lot of people, was because my fee was so low. But what's cool about it is I was able to see behind the scenes of these $1 million websites. And I remember one guy, he had a website like howtogetridofstuff.com or how to get rid of things, something like that. And all of his visitors came from Google. So people would type in like how to get rid of a cold, how to get rid of a stuffy nose, and they would come to his site, and he had all these articles, just like I did on my blog, and he had ads all over the place. And I found out that was Google AdSense, and Google has a program where if you have a website, you can put, for free, you just put one little piece of code on your website. It takes less than a minute, and they show ads all over your website, and then you get I think 70% of what Google makes off of those ads on your website. And so the more visitors you have to your website, the more money you make. And so anyway, this guy had millions of people coming a month because he ranked in Google for all these things like how to get rid of this, how to get rid of that. And I remember he was making just over $1 million a year in revenue, and his profit was somewhere around $600,000 or $700,000. And I remember asking him, like, well, you must have a huge team, and like you must have an office, and like I was just asking all these things. And he said, nope, no office, I work from home. I'm like, really? I was like, well, do you have like a basement? Like, where do all your people work? And he was like, well, I really only got, 3 or 4 writers that work for me, and they're all over the place. One's in the Philippines, one's in Europe, one's in Florida, and, I just pay them for every page that they write. I was like, what, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, that's the majority of my expenses. And he's like, and I do a lot of, he's like, what I spend my time is, he's like, I only work 3 or 4 hours a day, and I just do search engine optimization. I'm like, what is that? I'm like asking all these questions. And he's like, what I do is I make sure that our articles are very helpful for someone searching that in Google, so that Google will rank me higher. And so, by asking all these questions, then I learned about search engine optimization. I went and got all the books I can on it, went to Google, learned as much as I could about search engine optimization. All of this for free. It cost nothing to me to learn. And still to this day, my businesses stem all the way back from that first $20 that I maybe spent total to start everything. And I just kept investing and reinvesting every dollar. And to this day, I've never raised investment fund. I've never taken a loan. I've never used any outside funding to build my businesses, because at the time I didn't know better, and that's kind of just how I learned how to do it. I didn't know about, first of all, I was under 18, so I couldn't get a bank loan, and I just didn't know any better. So I thought, you gotta, if you want more money, you gotta get more sales, or you gotta get more people to your website. That's all I knew. So today it's just as easy, except even easier, because there's 10 times as much information online now about search engine optimization, WordPress. If I were starting out today, I would watch every YouTube video on WordPress available and just learn about the platform, how to build a website, all that stuff. It costs a few dollars a month to host a website, and it costs maybe $7 to $10 a year to buy your little .com name. So Josh's candy.com, if that's available. You can buy that, and then you set up a WordPress website, for free, and then you've got to host that website somewhere. And the way I like to compare it to is you've got to pay rent essentially to have your website going, and that rent can cost $3 or $4 a month, up to a few $1,000s a month, up to hundreds of thousands a month if you're getting 1 million people a day to your website or more. But in the beginning, it's practically free. And what I would do is I go on YouTube, I'd watch all the WordPress videos, I watch all the search engine optimization videos I could find. I'd find all the free courses, anything that's online and available, I would read. Ideally, the stuff that's most up to date, 2016, maybe 2015. And within a month or two, you'd be a website WordPress building ninja like I was back in the day, except you'd be 5 times better, because WordPress is way better than the platform I was using back then. Search engine optimization is much more robust now, and everybody uses Google now. And so the market has only gone bigger. It hasn't gone smaller. And that's a lot of things people think, well, it was easy back then. I was like, no, it's easier now, because everyone uses Google on their phone now. And we are so hooked to Google, we go there for everything. And so anyway, long story short, I'm trying to pull some of the best parts out of this, but, went to building blogs, built a brokerage, buying and selling websites for people. And then I had some other businesses at the time that I started. Some failed, some went going, but because I never put a lot of money into my businesses, when it failed, the most I would lose was a few $100, and then obviously time. And when they would succeed, I could make thousands of dollars. And so, I was just constantly experimenting with, I had a software business where I bought software and then sold it for a higher price on eBay, Amazon, and my own website. That did really well. Like I had all these sorts of businesses that I was just trying at the time. And what was the most interesting was originally I was planning to go to medical school because, that's kind of the way out of the hood is like stay in school and go get a good degree and, ideally be a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or whatever. That was my original plan. That's actually pretty much the only reason why I went to Alhambra High School was because they had the medical magnet program, and I was planning to go to medical school. But I remember sitting in class one day, and all I could think about was my website, how much potential was there, how much money could be made, and really the money was secondhand. I was so hooked on this. Just honestly, I remember thinking I could do this for free. Like for the rest of my life, if I could just do this for free, I don't even care about the money. I would do it. And the fact that I could actually make some money also on the side and like be able to help my family so they don't have to pay for, my expenses, and I could pay for my own everything, my own car, my own clothes, my own food. Like that was just a big icing on the cake. And I decided I no longer wanted to be a doctor. And so that was an interesting time for me, telling my parents that, telling everyone around me that. But it turns out it was the best decision of my life because when you're a doctor, you can help, 10 people, 5 people a day, however many you can see. When you're a business owner and you create something that's useful, you can help millions of people. And along the way, you make millions and billions of dollars because the more people you help, the more money you make, the more value you create. And with the more money I make, the more I can give back and I can reinvest into my business, keep it growing. And so, that's kind of what happened. And I graduated from Alhambra, and I made a promise to my parents that I would keep my grades up while, doing all this crazy stuff. And so I ended up graduating valedictorian, number one in my class. So that was a big accomplishment, for me as well for my family. And, and then I went on to ASU, and I also was accepted into the Barrett Honors College there. And so I studied computer information systems, which is at the business school, W. Carey, and it's a cross between business and computers. And I was like, perfect. Like that's literally exactly what I want to do. And so I went to ASU, I went to the Honors College, and I ended up graduating at 20, I graduated in just under 2 years with my bachelor's. I came in with no credits. Like I think I had like 6 credits. You need 120 plus to graduate. So I came in with nothing, but I worked my ass off every semester and took 22 credits a semester when everyone else was taking 12. And during the summer, I was taking 16 credits when everybody was, in Rocky Point. And and I was building my business at the same time from my 300 square foot dorm room, at Barrett Honors College. And even during winter, I would stay in my dorm. I was like the only one that stayed in my dorm during winter time so that I could study, so I could work on my business, I could get ahead. And, I graduated in, half the time of the recommended time. And I didn't really do it for any other reason except for, like I mentioned, I'm very competitive with myself, and I'm always trying to push myself to do better and better. And at a certain point, you have to be your biggest competitor because there's no one next to you to compare to. And I don't mean that in a cocky way or at all, or whatsoever at all. I'm just saying that if you have to rely on other people to motivate you, you're doing it wrong. You got to motivate yourself, and you got to look in the mirror, and you got to say, is this the best I'm doing? And if the answer is no, you got to go back and fix things. And that's what I constantly did. And, I graduated in just under 2 years. And I remember the look on the dean of Barrett, the Honors College. He was so amazed because I remember him telling me, he's like, Josh, if you do it in three years, and you get, because you have to do this huge honors thesis, like 200-page research project, it's really in depth. You've got to get professors involved, et cetera. He's like, if you do your honors thesis and get it approved, and you finish all of your coursework and all of your honors coursework and everything in 3 years. He's like, I will talk about you at every event that I do. And I did it in 2 years. So he's like, what the hell? You know, when he saw me on stage, he probably was like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. So anyway, you know, I finished ASU, and at the time, I had been running an agency. And so what happened was, over the years, as I was building websites, people would ask, can you build me a website? And I'm like, okay, fine. And that kind of word of mouth started spreading, and like, Josh builds really good websites. And then after a while, I couldn't build them all myself, so I had to hire other people to help me build them. And I did that online through a website called Odesk, which is now called Upwork, UPWORK.com. You can post a free ad on there, and you can hire people in the Philippines, Ukraine, Asia, wherever, to help you at a really low cost. And they've got higher cost people on there too, which we utilize a lot of PhDs now on there, like MDs. But anyway, at the time I needed help, you know, building the website, doing the designs, because I became more of the sales guy where I had to make sure the clients were happy. So after a while, you know, I needed an office, and then, you know, so, you know, we decided to build out an office in Phoenix, in the Arcadia area, and, you know, hired people and built that out, you know, hired a bunch of people online, and then, you know, started working with dozens of clients, and that just kept going and going. And along the way of building the agency, you know, I started to build stuff on the side as side projects, because in between clients, there was a lot of dead time when we would work between projects, and I wanted my team to have something to work on. So we started creating all sorts of projects, and what happened was those projects started to do really, really well. They started to grow faster than my agency. And so I said, okay, I need to figure a way out to sell what we're doing now so I can invest the money into what's going on over here, because this is growing faster. And so that's kind of what I've done. But I've learned everything for the most part the hard way, in terms of, you know, I've fallen many times, but I always get up. I get up harder, and I'm willing to outwork anyone. And I think that's one of the benefits of coming from the quote unquote hood, and coming from not a rich family or anything like that, is I'm willing to put the work in, and I'm willing to do the research. I'm willing to read. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And if that means I have to do things that other people don't like to do, that's even better, because that means I'm going to be the only one doing it, and I'm going to be an expert, which means I'm going to make more money than everybody. I'm going to do better than everybody. And that has proven true every single time. When I got into Barrett, I sat there. Nobody from Phoenix Junior High School District was in my class. And a lot of people knew each other, and they knew each other from high school, and I didn't know anybody. And I said, but you know what? And I did feel kind of isolated, and I was like, you know, should I even be here? Maybe I should drop out. But then I said, no way. I said, clearly I deserve to be here, and I'm just going to work as hard as I can. And I remember getting my first essay back, and these essays are brutal, and the honors colleges are like intense. You know, you have to read like practically a book a week, and it's like really intense. And I remember getting my essay back, and it was A-, my first essay. And I looked to the right of me, and it was like B-. Like to the left of me, it was like C. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I can keep up with these guys, and even better, I can do better than these guys. But this gave me a big boost of confidence to myself. And, you know, I ended up getting straight A's the entire time. And I graduated summa cum laude, which is top of the class, from both, you know, Barrett honors and W.C. Perry. And then I did it in you know, less than half the time. So, you know, that's just, and I was running a business the whole time while I was doing it. I'm not doing this to brag. I'm doing this to show you that anything is possible. It doesn't matter where you're from. And in fact, sometimes where you're from is a benefit. And in my case, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I'm happy from where I'm from. I do a lot of donating of time and money and efforts and everything in the community. And, you know, I do what I can to be a visionary, so to speak, to say, guys, you can do this. I've done it. And I'm by no means Mark Zuckerberg. I'm by no means anyone that special. I'm just someone that works my butt off and goes after what he wants and doesn't take no for an answer. So that's normally I could spend 2 hours telling my whole story, but hopefully that gives you a good idea, and the listeners a good idea of my story, and hopefully there's some parallels in there that people can kind of be like, wow, you know, this guy grew up down the road from me, and he's doing pretty well. He graduated college, he graduated high school. I didn't have to graduate college, honestly, at the time. There was no reason. My company was making enough money where I didn't need to even finish college. But I realized that, I wanted to do it for me. I wanted to do it for my future kids. I wanted to do it for my family, and just, challenging myself all the time. And that's when people say, oh, I don't have time for that, or, oh, I don't do this. I said, man, I took 22 credits, honors, running a business, doing sales calls in between classes. I have a great relationship with my girlfriend all throughout college. I was involved in 3 different clubs on the leadership board at ASU. So I was involved in events. I traveled, and I never pulled an all-nighter in college. So it's like, am I from another planet? No, I'm from the same hood as you. I'm from the same state as you. There's no reason why you can't do it. The only reason is most of the time people put themselves down, and they say no. They say no to themselves, and they don't even give themselves the opportunity. And it's very comfortable to be lazy. It's very comfortable to not want to do the hard stuff. And I just gone through, losing 60, 70 plus pounds. I don't know how much weight I've lost now. I stopped keeping track. And it was hard, going from being over 300 pounds to being, close to 200 now. And in a relatively short amount of time, took a lot of effort in mostly eating better. Is it hard? Yeah. Do I want to stuff my face with donuts every day? Sure, why not? But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to delay the gratification. Just like I said no to a couple kickbacks in high school, now people are like, Josh, how'd you do it? I'm like, well, it doesn't happen overnight. My overnight success is 10 years in the making, and it's still in the making. It's still in the making. So anyway, that's my long-winded version. Hopefully that's a good picture of my story.
No, yeah, man. I mean, you have such an amazing story. And like I said, you've been one of the most influential people in my life ever since I found out about you. I think I was going through Instagram, and you came up on somebody's page. He was cutting your hair, and I click on you. I'm like, no way, man. This guy's into the same stuff that I'm into, except that he's 10x and 100x my results. But that's incredible, brother. I mean, you're such a great story, and the most amazing part of it is that it proves that anyone can do it. It doesn't matter where you're from, what struggles you had to overcome, but it doesn't take to be special. It just takes hard work and dedication and discipline, just like you were talking about. There's some things that I didn't even know about your story. You mentioned the reading program, which was pretty much what drove your whole success and what got you reading and stuff, and I think that's just amazing. I don't know if there's programs like that available today, but that's such a it's such a huge impact. I can tell from your whole life just how one thing led to another thing, and that whole reading program. I started reading like seriously probably when I was like end of 15, 16 years old, and it was just business books and stuff like that for myself. But if I would have had something that motivated me more, to earn those points that you were talking about. I mean, it's just so amazing to take advantage of those kinds of opportunities. I had no idea about that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that was a big catalyst that contributed to my success is reading, because when you read, and watching YouTube videos. Now there are podcasts and stuff, and I listen to podcasts, audiobooks. I'm reading, 80% of the day, it seems like some days. I'm reading, magazines that are in my industry, reports, and now I spend a lot of money actually on getting trade industry reports where, sometimes they charge thousands of dollars, but it's where they spend a year compiling all this research for you essentially and reading. So I'm always reading now, but that's the thing I notice is that, I see 18 to 30-year-olds and even beyond that spending all day on Instagram, reading captions, and on Facebook, reading posts. But, you set a book next to them that could change their life, and it's like garlic to a vampire, and they run away from it. And it's like, man, it's like you have no idea if you spent, instead of 4 hours a day on Netflix, the average American watches 4 hours a day of TV. It's just, I can't even understand. Now I can't. I mean, back then maybe I did watch TV more, but like 4 hours a day, that's like a full-time job just watching TV. and then another 2 hours a day on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. And it's like,
exactly.
This is the thing that people need to understand. You don't make money on consumption. So being a consumer, you'll never be rich, you'll never be successful. You only make money on the production side. So if you're DJ Khaled and he's producing Snapchats, he's making millions now because he's a producer. He's producing things. When you sell a product, you're a producer. When you're buying stuff, when you go to the mall and you just spend money, that does not make you any money. Now, consumption is different than investment. So if I go and I buy a piece of art or something, and it goes up in value over time. Like, for example, I made a good amount of money with Bitcoin, and which I don't recommend now in terms of from a speculative side. You can buy Bitcoin if you believe in it, for 5-10 years down the road. Which I still own a lot of Bitcoin, but I bought Bitcoin really early on because I understood it, and I did a ton of research on it. Even though it hurt my brain, I just kept reading and reading on it, and and I was able to make a good amount of money there. But that's investing. It's not a consumption behavior. Consumption behavior is going to Jack in the Box, going and buying food that's, first of all, horrible for your health, so you're only getting worse in shape, and you're spending $20-$30 when you could have, started a website. I mean, literally for $20-$30, you could have your own website going overnight and be selling whatever the hell you want to sell. But it's consumption behavior that keeps the poor, and it's sad because if you were to change that consumption behavior to a production behavior where you say, instead of buying shirts, I'm going to buy a bunch of blank white shirts for $2. I'm going to print some cool saying on it, and I'm going to sell on my Facebook feed. If I sell 20 shirts, that's $20. That's $400. I just turned 40 into 400. Now, with my profit, I deserve to go buy my little Armani shirt or something. And that's the thing is I noticed that in growing up and at high school, people were so concerned. They'll wait in line to get the newest Jordan. Spending $200-$300. And look, I noticed because I was in line too. And guess why I was in line?
Yeah, I was right there with you, man.
This is what I did when I was in line. I bought 3 because they maxed it out at 3. You couldn't buy more than 3 of the shoe. And so I would bring a friend with me, and I would say, I'll give you 20, 40, whatever money. I'll give you a cut, essentially. Come with me. You buy 3, I buy 3. So we bought 6 pairs, and we put all 6 online. If I really wanted to keep one, I would hold one back. I put 5 online. And I doubled my money on the 5. So let's say I bought them for $200. That would be $1,000 I spent on 5 pairs of shoes. I sell them for $2,000 total, like almost overnight because people wanted them. And then with that profit, it paid for my own shoes, and it paid for my car insurance, my food for the month, my school stuff. Like boom, and that's just the difference. What was the difference? I was in the same line as everybody else, but my mindset was different than everybody else. And that's the big factor is your environment does kind of matter, but in reality, my mindset was so on point by the time I was 18 that it didn't matter if I was in the hood, the projects, or if I was in Bel Air. I was going to be successful because my mindset was there. And that's the most important thing is people got to get their mindset on straight. And reading is a great way to learn about other people's mindset and learn how did Bill Gates get started? What was he thinking at the time? And just kind of just being interested in that, being curious. And it just fascinates me. People will spend 6 hours a day watching TV. They're not getting paid for it. They're on Facebook, not getting paid for it. Instagram, not getting paid for it. Now, in moderation, I understand. I'm on Facebook too. I spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on Facebook. But the people I choose to follow on there and the people I choose to show on my timeline are positive, motivational stuff so that it keeps my mindset going instead of, really bad stuff or really negative stuff. I even stopped following the local news because every day I see something on there like, baby killed by mom, like horrible stuff. Which I know it's the truth. I know it's reality. But these news companies, they sensationalize these stories so that they can get clicks and they can make money off of ads. And I just hate seeing that stuff. It gives me a very bad feeling about society and it makes me feel negative. I want to feel positive. I want to help and I want to go and spend time with kids and help them. And so that's what I choose to do. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Reading is the centerpiece to my success because if you're not willing to research and put the time in to learn, my thing is once you stop learning, you start dying. I mean, you're done. And, one of the things, my favorite quote is from Mark Twain. It says, never let schooling interfere with your education, which means just because you go to school, that's not enough. You got to be reading. You got to be watching tutorials, YouTube videos, podcasts, audiobooks. You got to be doing 10 times more if you want the success. Everybody, trust me, everybody wants the lifestyle. Everybody. If I come on here and I told you the lifestyle, I get to wake up whenever I want. I don't have a boss. I get to drive any car I want. I get to travel when I want. I get to do what I want. Everyone's like, I want that right now. Give it to me. And I say, okay, well, here's what you got to do. You got to read. And they're like, never mind, man. Just like what at the gym, you see these guys that are ripped. They're big and bulky guys, and you're like, damn, dude. Like, I want to look like that. And then they tell you, yeah, I work out 2 hours in the morning at Gold's Gym, 2 hours a night at LA Fitness. I only eat tilapia and rice 6 times a day. I don't eat dessert. And you're like, never mind.
Yeah. No, man, I definitely get that part. And, you got to be willing to do what it takes, and most people aren't. Everybody wants the glory. Everybody wants the lifestyle, the richness, Everybody wants to, drive the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, man. And I've seen you drive all of them. Now, I think it all goes back to one point, just like you said, to mindset. Once you can convince yourself and really, truly believe with all your soul that you're going to do it no matter what, it makes everything else easier. At least it has for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes into mindset. I mean, it's something that I would push everyone listening to take a good look at yourself, take a good look at your progress, and every day be completely honest with yourself. Are you where you want to be? Are you at least in the direction? Are you at least making progress? If you're not, man, it's just you've only got one life here, and the opportunity to help people out, and most of my money goes right back into my business because I don't have loans, I don't have investors, I am everything. And so, when I have to hire someone new, that comes out of my pocket. When I've got to do all these things, that comes out of my pocket. Is entrepreneurship easy? Hell no. But I can't. There were some days I wish I could be an employee, and I wish I could work 9 to 5. I really do. There's a lot of times I wish I could be like that. But my mind is so hooked on ideas and creating value and focusing and like all these things. I would feel boxed in unless I was in a role that they allowed me to do a lot of different crazy stuff. Most people say, Josh, you're crazy, we can't hire him. But that's one of the reasons why I'm an entrepreneur is because I have no other choice. I can't go out and get a job like most people. I just can't. And so I have to make this work. And is it really hard? Is it lonely? Yes, it absolutely is. And the glory sometimes looks a lot better than the truth. And, like I said, my overnight success is still in the making. And I by no means consider myself, an uber successful person other than I look at myself every day and I say, I'm happy because today, I didn't have any sweets and I slept 8 hours and, I worked at least a 6-hour productive day. I felt really good today and I got this and this done because I keep track of everything I do. And, and I was able to participate on a panel helping, middle school students figure out their future or these are things that I count my life on. And if you're just clocking in, getting a paycheck and coming home and watching Netflix all day, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be healthier or if you want to contribute to your community or you want to help your family out more, there's more that you can be doing. And I just challenge people to push yourself a little harder. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve.
Yes, I definitely agree. And just to touch a little bit on the health side, man, it's been about, I want to say it's like my 4th week of, eating healthy and stuff like that, because for about 2 years, I went on this really, really bad track of kind of just eating out every day and just having a horrible, horrible diet. And it was because, I was working a job, and it was a very demanding job. I sold cars, so you kind of don't really have a schedule, and it sells. It's kind of like entrepreneurship, but except you work for someone. And I fell into horrible habits because before then I had really good habits. I ate really good, and I cooked all my meals and stuff like that. But when I started selling cars, it all went down the drain, and I went into this horrible circle of bad eating habits and not working out and stuff like that. And it's been about 4 or 5 weeks now that I've been eating healthy. I mean, in 4 weeks, I lost like 18 pounds.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah. So, because during those 2 years, really like in a year and a half, I gained like 30 or 40 pounds. So I'm just trying to get back to my regular weight and then, start building muscle after that. But yeah, it's something that really kind of took me off course of what my dreams were, what my goals were. And I really had to make that tough decision to leave the car business and focus on what I really wanted to do. Because it took me in a horrible path, man.
Well, I think that's another thing too is looking at your current position and being willing to go against society and what they say. So, whether that means changing your job, changing your career. In my case, it meant getting out of the agency world, even though we had a profitable, growing, successful business. I just realized that, I had gained 100 pounds in about a year and a half. And that's because I went from being a relatively athletic, I like to work out, type of stuff, bodybuilding, to literally zero workout because I was working 12 to 14 hours a day in the office and sitting down all day, dealing with stress and traveling, not because I wanted to, but because I had to, and just a very, very demanding schedule. And I remember just sitting there, and here I am over 300 pounds, and, I feel miserable. I look down, I see my gut, and I'm like, what is this? I go into the department stores, and I can't even find clothes because they don't make my size, and just like feeling really like what happened? Like I almost blinked, and 2 years later, I don't feel like a human. And it's like, yeah, I'm making good money, and yeah, our business is growing, etc. But you got to be willing. You got to be willing to risk it. You got to be willing to say, you know what, I'm gonna change paths. And I did the same thing. I changed paths, business wise, and moved more into something where I didn't have to come into an office 24/7 and manage a bunch of employees and do all that stuff. And we're doing incredibly well now, and we're growing, and there's still a lot of room for improvement. But I'm excited, I'm different, and I'm, practically since my absolute highest, I'm almost 100 pounds down from there. And so, for me, I feel like a new person. I haven't weighed this much since I was probably in 8th grade, 7th grade. So this is like a whole new world for me. From a health side, I've got more energy, but it starts, it starts with those type of decisions. Like every day is built up of millions of tiny decisions you make. Do you sleep in? Do you watch Netflix? How many episodes do you watch? Do you get on Facebook? All these tiny decisions. And if you give in to the elephant, there's a book I can't think of right now, but he talks about your inner elephant, and if you get the elephant mad, it gets crazy and stampedes, which is like if you say I'm not gonna have soda, like you go from drinking soda all day, which I hate soda, but if you go from drinking soda all day and then you say tomorrow I'm gonna stop completely cold turkey, your elephant might get really mad and you may end up binge drinking like a gallon of soda the next day. So you have to manage the elephant inside of you, and you've got to be willing to tame the elephant. You've got to train it with these tiny decisions and say, you know what? Instead of starting or binge watching the whole Game of Thrones season today, I'm just going to watch one episode. And the rest of the day, I'm going to read. I'm going to work out. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to clean my car. Like all these things that you're going to get done, and see how you feel after. And then just give your elephant little snacks, one episode a day instead of the whole thing. And if you give in to the elephant over and over, which most people are in the position that your elephant rules you. So you've got to start taming the elephant by pulling things back and saying, I'm not going to party all weekend. I'm only going to go to one relaxed, event. I'm not going to go to the club. I'm not, you start pulling things back, and the elephant is going to get a little mad, but you start training it. And after a while, like right now, my elephant is I am in charge, no one else,
right.
not no one. And so that's where you got to get to that point. And finally, I'm at a point where I could say that confidently. I am in charge, and I feel really comfortable, and I'm very happy with myself, my life, my business. And it hasn't always been sunshine and peaches. It goes to dark days as well. But you just gotta have a strong belief inside of you that drives you. And for me, that big drive is, wanting to make my family proud, wanting to make my future children proud, wanting to make myself proud. That's number one, and pushing myself to be better and better and better. As long as I'm following that, and yeah, there'll be some days that fall off. But as long as I get back on that saddle and I keep going, I'm happy and I'm pushing. And you'll be amazed at the progress you make when you push yourself. And I look back and I'm like, wow, just a few years ago I was sitting in ASU, and then just last year I was sitting in an office, or like you start doing these comparisons. You're like, wow, look at what I've come. Can you imagine a year from now? Like when I think, even people ask me, where are you going to be 5 years from? I'm like, I have no idea. Because 5 years ago I was barely graduating high school, so I don't know. Like I have no idea.
Right, man. And those, just to really drive on that point, that the little wins, they're so important, and we ignore them because they seem so minimal, right? It's like, if I eat this right now, it's not going to make that big of a difference. It's not like I'm going to become obese tomorrow. But making the right decisions every single day, they really start to build up, and they build that momentum, which I just strongly, strongly believe in. And, before you know it, you have control over yourself. You have that discipline. Those distractions aren't really calling your name anymore. You know what I mean? Like for me, eating right was just so important because I had gone on this really bad path. And I don't know if it's been easy for me because I've done it before, but the little wins have really just made it easier every single day. When I really stop myself and I'm like, no, I can't eat that. Come on. Like, really, you're going to give all this up for that? They just kind of keep me going. And right now I can definitely say that if I had a Big Mac right here or whatever, Cane's, I don't care what it is, man, I won't eat it. You know what I mean? I have no desire to eat it. And I used to just kind of go for whatever's easiest, whatever's ready quickest, and it's such a bad habit, man. And that goes for everything, not just health and fitness, man. It goes for business as well. Making those small little wins every day, progressing just a little bit every day. Before you know it, you're going to be doing things that you couldn't even imagine, man. And I think that's just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes both ways. Like if you do good things, small chunks at a time. Like, for example, I hear people all the time that say, well, Josh, I love your story. I want to be like you. My goal is by next year to be making X thousand per month. I said, no. You're looking at it the wrong way. Your goal should be next week you're going to have your blog live, and the next week you're going to have your little logo live, and the next week you want to break. It's okay to have a big goal, a stretch goal, but then you want to break it down into daily, weekly goals, and you want to be accountable for yourself. And just like eating, small bad things at a time will make you big over time. Doing good things small at a time will make you great over time. And so that's what people have to understand is it's not done overnight. There's no magic formula, but it's possible. It's free. And, I tell people that the formula that I went through every single time, which is just, consistent progress. Everything is free. You don't really put money in anywhere, honestly, until you're at a point where you want to accelerate your business, especially online. The internet, like if you want to start a restaurant, you've got to go get a bank loan. They're not going to give you one. You got to ask money from family. And like 95% of restaurants fail within 2 years. So it's like, for me, I would never, in my life, want to start a restaurant or invest in one because the failure rate is so high. People's tastes change, like all these things. Where the internet, it costs you $0 to go live. You can be live tomorrow. You don't need a bank. You don't need your family's money. And you can make millions of dollars in profit per year, and even more than that. And then you can sell your company for millions on top of that, like cherry on top. And all while, someone else is spending time in a business that, may not have the same factors. And the other thing too is some of our websites get, millions and millions of Americans every single month visiting our site. And, across the network, we can get 30 million people in a month. And for me to serve 30 million people in a restaurant, I would need, I don't know how many thousands of restaurants. Imagine the real estate cost, how many employees would I need. One of our websites that gets like 5 million people a month has like 2 part-time people working on it. I mean, that's how, and I don't even, I'll oversee it, but I don't spend maybe more than an hour, if that, like per week sometimes. I mean, it's like, there's nothing else like it. And it sounds too good to be true, because I remember when I got started, I would hear all these like gurus that you could make $1 million in sleep. Well, most of those guys, are selling crap. That's why I say don't go out and spend a bunch of money thinking that there's a magic pill. There's not. But
I fell down that path a few times.
Oh, I did too. And in the beginning, I got screwed over time and time again. And but you know what? I learned along the way, and I realized that no one's going to give me the magic pill. I got to work for myself. But the important part, and this is why I'm active on sites like Quora and Facebook, and I share my advice where I can locally, is my thing is I hope to just provide direction and motivation. That's it. I can't provide the work. I can't provide but direction is so important, because you could spend 10 years building a restaurant, and let's say it doesn't succeed. Those 10 years you could have been blogging at one blog post a day times 365, that's 300 a year, times 10 years, that's 3,000 posts on your website about one topic that you're passionate about. Let's say, someone in your family had diabetes, and you create a diabetes blog, and you write for 10 years straight. You're going to have the largest diabetes website in America, North America, that could sell for $10 million plus. And it's probably generating hundreds of thousands a year in profit with advertising. So, it's just, direction is important. It's not just about working hard. It's about the direction, and then, yes, motivation and getting doses of it. Motivation doesn't last forever. You got to listen to a podcast daily to get that little hit to kind of, it's like a pre-workout. That's what motivation is like. And so, that's my thing is, I tell people, if you're from a similar situation as me, or if you're currently in a situation where you're not happy, you don't like your job, whatever, you can change it. You can absolutely change it. And, it's not easy, and entrepreneurship may or may not be a path to you, but you may get into an area like sales. Like I always tell people, they say, what's one thing I should learn in life to be successful? I'm like, sales. Number one is sales. The moment I figured out sales, everything changed for me, because I learned how to sell in person, on the phone, and again, reading helped me expand my vocabulary. I could speak more clearly. People I noticed that they respected me despite my age because of how eloquently I spoke, and and I'm not afraid to jump in front of an audience nowadays. I mean, at first I was terrified to get in front of big groups of people, but through practice and making myself uncomfortable, which means I'm growing. Now you could throw me in front of an audience of 100,000 people, and I can just improv. Like I don't care. Like I'll go at it, and if I got to sell, I'll sell. But selling comes down to believing in your product, believing in your mission, and sharing that with the right people. That's what selling is. Selling is not shoving down people's throat and forcing them and tricking them. No, it's creating a product or service that would be useful. It doesn't have to be an invention. Unless you're have $1 million already in the bank, you shouldn't be worrying about invention. You should be worrying about taking things that are existing on the market that have been proven, like tax service, for example, for Latinos and Hispanics, creating, Kevin's tax service and having a small little location during tax season and helping people that only speak Spanish do their taxes and helping them save more money. Boom, instantly you've got a business. That business could run for 20, 30, 40, who knows how long, because taxes aren't going anywhere.
Right.
And there you go. It doesn't even have to be an online business, but then you can use the internet to drive business to your little tax service. So when people type on there, taxes or whatever they're looking for online, they're going to find you in Google, and they're going to come to you to your place on 75th Avenue in Thomas, and they're going to do the taxes with you. They're going to come with you they're going to come back to you every single year. They're going to tell their friends. So entrepreneurship has many layers. There's many things you can do. And what I tell people is, don't try to be the next Facebook. Don't try to create something. Don't try to invent something. You can be, what I say is, be inventive. Don't be an inventor unless you really are an inventor.
Right.
And be inventive in terms of, on our website, they're faster than our competitors. They're more mobile friendly than our competitors. They've got, I believe, better content than our competitors. So for me overall, I think we have a better product. And so I've been inventive in this arena, but all of our websites that make money, we have at least 10 competitors, like direct competitors. And we're making money. We're doing just fine. They're doing just fine too. It's a big, big world. And so don't be so afraid about, if I tell someone my idea, they're going to steal it, or I got to invent something new, or this could be the next big Facebook. Like, no.
Right.
Focus on, replacing your day job first. $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. Focus on that first and solving an existing problem, because people don't buy prevention, they buy cures, and they only buy things that they have a problem to. And taxes, for example, is a big problem. iPhone repair. Everybody's got an iPhone. It breaks. Put Craigslist ads up. I bet you within a week, you'd have 5 customers. You'd be fixing their iPhone for $100 a pop. Now you got your rent paid for the month. But you got to be willing to put in that work. It's free. There's no excuses. And just transfer your Netflix and Instagram time to building a business if you want to live this lifestyle, because it's 100% possible.
Definitely, man. There's no excuses whatsoever. And the beauty about the internet is that you can do whatever you want. You can be in any niche that you love, because there's a market for pretty much everyone. Just like if you want to start a restaurant, there's a niche for food. There's a niche for the specific type of food that you want to, serve. So there's really no excuse. Everybody puts all these excuses, and you touched a little bit on motivation and, and how, it gets you started. And, man, I have such a strong belief about motivation, and that's that it doesn't really mean anything. It gets you excited, kind of gets you going. But at the end of the day, it's bullshit, man, because it doesn't get anything done. It's the discipline, the commitment, the strong habits. Those are the things that will get things done. You know what I mean? I tell everyone that I know that a year from now, you'll really get to see who is really working, because everybody likes to talk and everybody has dreams, but the only difference between who you are and what you do is, or who you are and who you want to be is what you do. You know what I mean? So everybody wants to come up with excuses, but at the end of the day, there's really no excuses, because there's millions and millions of people doing it and succeeding.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that people owe it to themselves. You've got one life. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. To whether it means becoming an entrepreneur or not, whether it means getting a better job, whether it means asking for a raise, whether it means getting better at what you're doing right now. You don't have to go out and start your own business. You can look at what you're doing now and say, how can I become better? How can I become the best in Arizona at filing taxes? Or can I find a little market within what I'm doing now that I could become the best at and known at? Because it's only the masters that people remember, and it's only the people that are really good that people refer to. And there's a reason why certain clubs, certain restaurants have lines out the door. And what it is, it's a distribution curve where 10% of the nightclubs have 90% of the people, and like the rest fail, they're out of business. And so that's the same process is in your life. Be known for something, stand for something, and become really good at it. And it can be very specific. Like it can be, it can be designing labels for shirts, or like you can become the best at one of those things. You'll always have a job. You'll always be successful, and you'll always be in demand because you figured out how to master something. And it may take 10,000 hours, or it may take more than that. It may take less than that. But just think about what you like. Think about what you're already pretty good at, or you want to get good at. And just go for it and be willing to change, because my first business was not my biggest business. My 20 other businesses were not successful, but I just never stopped trying, and I kept open-minded. I read a lot, and I listened, and I realized I don't know everything. And so I got to go out and I got to seek information and learning from people that have done it, not from people that are just trying to sell me something that they've never even done it themselves. It's just like, when I was over 300 pounds, I came to you and I was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to lose weight. I wouldn't buy it for myself. But now, looking at myself, I would be like, you know what? I have kind of figured it out. And I would, if I were a customer, I would buy something for myself, because I've actually done it. I've proven it. Like you said, a year from now, where are you? Where are those people? And the other thing, the last point I really want to drive home is your environment is very important in terms of the people you hang around with. And, this is something that, not saying that your friends all have to be entrepreneurs, have to be rich. For me, I enjoy spending time with people that are positive, that are outgoing, that make me laugh, and I can make them laugh. And it's just that I try to be around positive energies, because if you're around a lot of negative energy or neutral energy, that's going to drag you down. And when you share your ideas, they're going to just look at you. And so, I have a couple, really good friends that are still my friends, since I was young, and those are positive people in my life, and they're not necessarily entrepreneurs, but we laugh together, we enjoy together, we share memories. So I'm not saying like run out and get rid of your friends. That's absolutely not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But surround yourself mentally with. That's why books are great. That's why masterminds, YouTube, local meetups, networking events. Those are great to start to meet like-minded people, so that you guys can kind of juice each other up. Because that motivation's just a small piece of it, but having people around you are positive, and ideally, the best are mentors, to have mentors in your life, because those are people that can say, I've been there, I've done that, and they're going to tell you straight up. And at this point in my life, I'm not really interested in winning people over, so to speak. I'm not interested in that anymore. I realize that whether someone likes me or not, my business is still going to do well, it's still going to grow, and that's what's great. Another thing about the internet is, my websites, for the most part, they're run by my company, they're not run by me, and it has nothing to do with me at the end of the day. And if someone doesn't like me, it doesn't really affect our revenue, it doesn't affect our bottom line. At the same time, I'm not going around flipping people off. I'm just saying I'm not here to please people. I'm going to be honest and truthful of who I am. And if I got something to say, I'm going to say it. And, that's what I noticed is by doing that, becoming true to myself and not sugarcoating things, the law of attraction has pulled people into my circle that are the same way, and it pulls people into the things that I do, customers, mastermind members, all these people that it pulls them in, and they can recognize that realness and that truthfulness, and the fact that I'm going to tell you the truth regardless, whether it hurts or not. I'm just going to say it because it's on my mind, and why am I going to sugarcoat it? Life's short, and if I think a business idea is not going to work, or if people come to me for advice, I'm just going to tell you how it is. And some people like that. Some, believe it or not, a lot of people don't, because I'll tell people, hey, that's a good idea. Here's what you need to do. Boom, 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 boom. They don't like knowing that they can actually do it. They like fantasizing about it instead.
Well, that's definitely true. Everybody has the dreams and the goals, and when they share it and someone gives them advice on how to get it done, they don't. Now they know what to do, and they still don't do it. You know what I mean? They want to keep it as a fantasy or something. One day one day I'll do this, one day I'll do that. And in reality, I mean, you'll never get anything done that way. You should take advantage of the advice that you get, especially from people who are in the position that you want to be, or have gone through that already. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the advice that you give us in our mastermind group, it's, we all take it serious because you've gone through that already. You've gone through a lot of those obstacles and a lot of the journey. So it's really, really helpful to get that advice, no matter how harsh it is, really. And you touch on a couple things that I really wanted to reinforce, which is first, having the mentors, and then second, surrounding yourself with the right people. And first, I'll touch on the mentors. So in this world with the internet and books and having all this available to us, you can have mentors that you don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, I would say probably almost all of my mentors are people that I've never met in my life, that I've never even talked to, and they've influenced my life like nobody else has. And it's because they share their ideas through the internet, through books, through podcasts, through videos, and, they really they really have been a huge influence on the person that I've become. So you don't necessarily have to know these people. And then the second thing about surrounding yourself around the right people, it's one of the most important things that I've realized in my life, and I never took action on it until this year. And, I knew that it was going to be a really big difference when you start surrounding yourself around the people who are where you want to be. And I started doing that just recently here. I met with a few of the guys that are part of a mastermind group that live here in Phoenix, and just getting together, man, talking about what we're working on and some of the stuff that they've done and some of the stuff that I've done. It's just, it's such a different environment. It gets your mind going, and it puts your mindset at a whole nother level. And I'm glad that I took that step to meet some of those guys. And I mean, there are people that have known you for years from what they told me. And I mean, I just think that that's really, really incredible, man.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad. I didn't know you guys had met up. That's awesome. That's exactly the type of connections that, you know, I want people to be having, because there's, you know, at the same time, there's a lot of us, but there's also not a lot of us. And especially, I can tell you that it's like I hate to use the pyramid analogy, but it's like a pyramid where, you know, people start to fall off over time, and those that stay in it and stay motivated and keep growing, it kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller of a circle. But we really try to support each other, and those that are truly honest and hard workers and want to see other people succeed. Because I operate from the mindset of abundance instead of scarcity. And scarcity mindset means if I tell you my idea, you're going to steal it from me, and then now I don't make any money. That's a scarcity mindset, where the abundant mindset is I want to help you, because by helping you, I can learn from you too, and you can learn from me. And then if you become successful, you can help out the community even more along with me. Like that's the mindset that I've chosen to adopt and to live through. And so I want to share my mindset, my words, my ideas with as many people as possible, so that as a society, at least on a local level, you know, the southwestern United States can be a better place, you know, or even my neighborhood could be a better place. And so that's the mindset I recommend everybody think about, is how can you be in a sharing mindset instead of I'm never going to tell anyone my idea. I'm never going to do it. And it's funny because the people that are like that very rarely succeed. They usually stay in their little bubble, and the ones that are open and share and communicate and involve people, those are the ones that are very successful. And you look at GoPro, and he has that type of mindset. You look at a lot of very, very successful billionaires, and they have that mindset as well. So, you know, the answers are right there. And if your goal is to become financially free, financially wealthy, if that's one of your goals, then you gotta realize that, and this is specifically if your goal is to be financially wealthy. I'm talking into the millions and into tens and hundreds of millions. You gotta go on Forbes 400 and look at the richest 400 people in America, and realize that almost all of them, their salary is $1. And what that tells you is they make their wealth not through working, not through a job, not through salary. They make it through creating value through a company, through products, and hiring people. So if you want to be in the top 1% in the United States, if that's your goal financially, then you've got to look at your situation, make a 5-year, 10-year, 1-year, 1-week plan, all of those, and say the reality is working for someone else is not going to get me in the top 1% if that's your goal. And not to say that it necessarily won't, because there's people on Wall Street, there's people in sales,
right.
But saying, you know, if you're in your 20s and even your early 30s, your job should be learning. You should be working for, if you're working for a company, try to work for a smaller company so you can learn from the CEO, so you can learn from the team environment, and you can still be an entrepreneur on the side. You don't have to drop everything you're doing as an entrepreneur. You can build your business at night and on the weekend and learn from your job and apply what you're learning at your small business job into your business. Get advice from the people around you, from the CEO, and you know, that's something I did. I always tell my employees, I say, look, having a job, a lot of times having, at least in podcasts you hear all the time, like having a job is evil. I'm like, no, it's not. I actually, having a job is great, and I admire those people because I wish I could, you know, sometimes not go through all that I go through as an entrepreneur, but I know I can't. And in reality, I'm happy now, and I don't regret anything. But I tell my entrepreneurs, my employees, I say, you know, if you guys want to start a business, I'm here to support you. You know, I'm here to give you advice. And I would have people come into my office and be like, hey, Josh, I'm thinking of starting this now. What do you think? And I'll tell them, you know, my advice. I'll connect them to people. You know, I'm not going to be like, no, you can't start a business. You know, obviously, obviously you can't work on it while you're at the office, and you can't use resources. You know, there's certain rules, but I'm going to do what I can. Again, the abundant mindset. I'm going to do what I can, you know, to help those around me. you'll be surprised at whether you believe in karma or not or whatever it is. But I just believe by being open and helpful, it gets more people involved. And by telling your idea to more people, they'll be like, oh, I know so-and-so. You should talk to him because he can help you with this. Where if you're someone that's like, I'm not going to tell you my idea because you're going to steal it, then who's going to help you?
Right, man. And it's funny how, or at least for me, when I first started or when I first got into the whole entrepreneurship, that was my mindset. I'm not going to lie, man. I thought I had the greatest idea in the world, and I couldn't tell people because, you know, I didn't want them. Or it was really like people, at first, I had a really big, I didn't trust telling other people online. That was a big thing. So when I was looking for developers to help me, I didn't want to tell them very much until I knew that I was working with them. You know what I mean? But I just realized now how dumb of an idea or thought process or mindset that I had, because I could have met someone who knew somebody else, and, you know, it could have been so much different if I wouldn't have had that mindset, because it's a really limiting mindset. You're limiting yourself to something just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. You know, it's never too late, and you know, and no matter how old you are, how young you are, I've seen both sides of the spectrum, and I've got a lot of friends that are in their 70s and 80s that are you know, starting companies, building companies. You know, a good friend and mentor of mine just had his third IPO, and he's a local Arizona guy who I look up to, and he just had his third company IPO, and he's in his late 70s, and he's still going, and he's still got that energy. And, you know, it doesn't matter where you're at, but, you know, if you're not happy with where you're at, you know, if you're not happy in your job, find a better job. You know, if you feel like you should get paid more, don't just go ask for more money. Create more value, and then justify that value. Like, that's the thing. And what I noticed is being under 30 and the people around, the millennials, so to speak, are generally pretty entitled. You know, I could say they or we. I say they because I don't really follow that mindset. But, you know, they'll come out of university or they'll graduate, and they just expect to get paid, you know, all this money because, you know, ASU said that I would get paid this much when I graduated, blah, blah. Your pay is a direct reflection of the value you're providing to the company you're working for. And as an entrepreneur, you can either make $0 or you can make millions of dollars. It directly reflects the value you're giving in terms of sales, in terms of visitors to your website. It's all about producing value all the time. And if you're not producing value, you're not going to get paid for it, period.
Absolutely, man. There definitely has to be that value factor in there. And for a time, not to get too off topic because we're already like over an hour and 20 minutes, but for a while, I want to say probably for about a year, I got away from the most important thing, which was creating value, and I started learning about more of the business side of things, the marketing, the sales, and stuff like that. And all of that is really important, but the most important thing is making sure that you are creating value and that the customer is going to benefit from what you're offering. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if nobody benefits from it and you don't create value for anyone, it's not going to last. It's not a business, man.
Exactly.
Really quick, just to close this out and not waste more of your time, man. Quick advice, tips for people just starting out, people that haven't really gotten started, but kind of point them in the right direction. What's the first thing that they should do, and how do they make it, man?
Yeah, so I'm going to be, that again, I could answer that in a few hours worth of talking, but what I'm going to do is I'm putting together, because I've been getting this request a lot. Like I mentioned, I get over 100 emails a day of people in a similar position that are just getting started. And a lot of the stuff that I put out is generally like intermediate to advanced for the most part, because it's stuff that we're doing at the moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that I'm really, really starting from scratch, all over again. And I'm going to put together step-by-step tutorial, what I would do specifically for, maybe I'll do two versions. I'll do one for a like blog/content website, and then the second version will be for like e-commerce where you're selling stuff online. and I'm going to do like step-by-step of how to set up your blog, what kind of .com should you buy, where do you look for that, kind of, what does it cost? It should cost, really your whole setup would be probably under $20. Either way, whether you want to sell products online or you want to sell, words and information or whatever, digital stuff. So I'm going to do that, and what I'm thinking to do is I'm going to put it on, Joshua Elizetxe, which is my last name, which is really hard to spell. But maybe in the notes that, wherever you post this or whatever, you can put a link to joshuaelizetxe.com. And that's a blog I used to use. I haven't blogged on there much because I've been blogging everywhere else. But I'll put it on there. I'll put it in our mastermind group. I'll put it probably on Quora.com. And maybe I'll put it on Facebook. I'm going to put it as many places as I can to give people an honest, because a lot of the guides that are online for beginners are either outdated or they're kind of misguided, or they're from people that haven't really been successful online. They're just kind of just saying random stuff. So I'm going to put something together that is a little bit more in depth. But my thing would be, like I mentioned, get on YouTube, start learning about WordPress, which is a publishing platform where you can create websites super easy. Learn about WordPress on YouTube. Start listening to podcasts like this one that you're listening to now, similar business ones if you're interested in business. Start picking up, one or two books and spend 30 minutes before you read. Instead of going through your timeline on Facebook before you sleep, spend 30 minutes and say, I'm going to read one chapter every day before I go to sleep. Push yourself to do it. And by reading, you're going to get better at consuming and learning. And then, what I would say is look at your life right now. Are you happy? Where do you want to be? Are you going the right way? Put together a vision board. It doesn't always have to be materialistic things. I've always been a car guy, and I know that I always knew the price of a Bentley and a Lamborghini, and so I knew that even though I wasn't in business necessarily for money, money for me is more of a way to stay in business, honestly. But I knew that, I like cars, so that was one thing. So if you like cars or you like houses, or like something, don't be afraid to put some nice things up there. It's totally okay. Don't be embarrassed by wanting to live good. And then put up other things. You want your kid to go to private school, or you want to help your mom out, you want to help your dad out, whatever it is. Make that vision board and then work your way backwards and say, where I'm at right now, am I going to be able to achieve these dreams? I've only got one life. And if my dream is to, live on top of Camelback Mountain in Arizona, those houses go for several $1 million. And if that's like your big, big dream, why not go for it? And maybe where you're at right now, where you're headed, it's not going to get you there. So maybe you have to make some adjustments. So that's what I would do. The action items from listening to this podcast, I would immediately write down on a blank piece of paper your goals, your vision, where you're at, where you want to be, who are your closest 5 friends, who do you spend most of your time with, track your day, how much time are you watching TV, how much time are you doing this and that you shouldn't be doing. Those are the things that I would look at immediately. And then, stay tuned for, this thing I'm putting together, which is going to be a straightforward, if you want to start a website, you can use it, or you can share it with people that want to start a website. And then there's also a ton of information for free on YouTube and Google as well. So just get out there, start doing things, start looking at your life, start getting better, and become your own biggest competitor, and you will surprise yourself at what you can get done.
Awesome stuff, man. And one thing that I just want to add in there is to make Google your best friend, just like you did early on. I did too. It was one of the biggest, life-changing things in my life is to, whatever question that I had, is to Google it. And it's funny how people, some people, especially the younger people, they still haven't caught on to that. You can learn anything. You know what I mean? All the answers are out there. We have so much information available to us. And me and Andy were talking about it, Andy from the group. He's like, yeah, man, there's all these people that, they ask me. I'm like, just Google it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's absolutely true. And it's not gonna have the same effect and value on you if I tell you what you should do than if you learn it on your own. It's just the effect is not the same.
Exactly. That's right. So, like I mentioned, never let school interfere with education, and never let anything interfere with education. Learning it yourself, doing it yourself, And if you don't have a big budget, like when I started, I had $20 to my name. I learned how to make my own website. I learned how to write. I learned how to read. I learned how to do everything. Do I do it now? No. If I want to, I still know how to do it. I can get involved in it. But now I've got designers, I've got developers, I've got writers. And so, you don't have to do it forever. But in the beginning, you got to be willing to do things that other people aren't to get results that other people don't have. And so, you're absolutely right. Self-education is key. And, I recommend people go out there, challenge yourself. And hopefully I'll have this little tutorial thing that I'm putting together to help people out, live within the next week or so. So keep your eyes open for that. And, I wish the best of luck to everybody.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And thank you so much for being such a great influence in my life, man. It's really made a big difference, and I thank you.
You bet. It goes both ways. Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you.